she's mighty fine, but mighty fine only got you somewhere half the time, and the other half either got you cussed out or coming up short. Yeah, and I dig this now, even though you need a golden calculator to divide the time it took to look inside and realize that real guys go for real, down to Mars, girls. Yeah, I know you like to think your shit don't stink, but lean a little bit closer, see roses really smell like boo boo boo. Yeah, roses really smell like boo boo boo. I know you like to think your shit don't stink, but lean a little bit closer, see.
Hey guys, this is Corey. I'm Anthony. Today we're from Always Toward Better. Today we're lucky enough to have Caroline here with us. Caroline, would you like to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm Caroline Buchanan, local Canberra girl, grew up racing BMX and mountain bike from the age of 5, always been that action sport adrenaline junkie. Fortunate enough to have the platform here of Australia, the capital, where, grew up with the ACT Academy of Sport, through the pathway development to the AIS. So from really the grassroots level of sport right the way through to national, world level, 2 Olympic Games, 8 World Championship titles. And I still always keep coming home to probably the best state in the nation, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, I live in California and you know what? I love it. I've been there 10 years, but every time I sort of step foot back here, I'm like, so many small things I miss, and every time you come back, there's so much activity that's sort of stepping up. So I love it. Canberra gets a hard time, but
yeah, absolutely. We're definitely going to have to get...
Canberra gets a bad rap.
it does.
Yeah.
We got IKEA now. What else?
Yeah.
We got
IKEA.
coffee.
We have Costco. We have pretty good coffee.
We got a lake, beach.
Kind of, yeah. All
River.
right, so look, there's going to be heaps of questions that we're going to want to ask. I guess first and foremost, one question we really want to know is, you're quite successful in what you've done. What do you believe has made you so successful and put you in the position you are now, as a champion, as an Olympian, and as an influencer as well on social media?
Well, all right, we're going to start right from the bottom. Probably a lot of, through like the Australian Institute of Sport, there's been like a lot of background development going into like what makes athletes successful, what makes them not as injury prone. Throughout my entire career, I've probably had like 2 injuries. And the biggest one has been not even caused from a bike, it was from an off-road vehicle accident. So like you'd think being this action sport adrenaline junkie that I would have had so many injuries and setbacks. Like I've never had ACLs, like I've never had any surgery until this year. So one of the things that they talk about is kids that crawl before they walk, and actually the longer that you crawl, it's starting to show like so much about all of that body movement and more of like Pilates, and everything is like formed around these like baby movements. So that's been one thing. I crawled for a long time, so who knows, that might be an element of it. So that was kind of a weird going back.
What did that look like? How pardon my ignorance, how long would a baby normally crawl for, and then how does that compare to how long you crawl?
I mean, I'm not a mum, so I'm not really sure, but I like talking to my mum because it came up at the AIS one day, and I was like, Mum, did I walk really soon? And my brother, he basically walked. Like he stood up, he just wanted to go, whereas I kind of like dragged it out and crawled for a while, but they're sort of saying that helps with just your mobility and injury management and just those like body movements as you get older. So that was kind of a big one. And then slight delay.
It's all going on in Canberra.
Right.
Yeah.
And then funnily enough, like I started training at 9 years old. So I had like a personal trainer when I was 9. And looking back now, it's probably one of the best things I've ever done, because my gym coach, Julian Jones, he's the head of this sort of Australian sport. There's, again, been more research going into like what athletes can form before they're 14 years old is actually like, not like genetics comes into it, your workload, your training, your dedication, like everything to be a professional athlete, but some of your muscle types and what you can form in terms of what you've got to work with does happen before you're 14. So kind of going back to like, it was a real blessing that I was in the gym with a personal trainer at 9 years old.
You were in the gym?
Who kind of got you into that? Your parents, or it was your
Yeah,
decision?
well, I think for me at the time, I was into BMX because I started when I was 5, and I just said to Dad, like, I just want to train. And my dad had this athletic background as well, so he was on the Commonwealth Games squad for the UK. He was a track velodrome cyclist, so
Wow.
my fast twitch fibers and like the athletic side comes from my dad. And he sort of thought, all right, we'll go down to the Southern Cross Club. We'll see if you're even old enough to be in a gym. And at the time I wasn't, because it's like, I was 9. So it wasn't as though that I was doing like heavy weights or like I wasn't stunting my growth. There was nothing like that, but it was circuit workout. It was like learning to train, being in that environment, and I wanted to learn. So yeah, my coach Tanya, when I was 9, she had me doing all like proprioception work, learning how to squat properly, learning how to like do little plyometrics properly, and just the basics.
Kind of like building up your foundations.
Yeah, so by the time I actually was like 14, and then we got me into the ACT Academy of Sport, I'd already sort of done all these years of like development and movement patterns. And I guess, looking back now, it's sort of helped a lot of the muscle fibers and everything that I had to then work through for the future.
May I ask, that's really interesting. Just back it up to when you were, say, starting out at 9. Is that something that you would encourage the younger generation to do, to get into the gym, into getting into their fitness and kind of in tune with that lifestyle from a young age?
Yeah, well, now I know, because like with the injuries and setbacks that I've had, and now coming back, it is refreshing to know, like, I'm so glad that I did start early, because it's helped the longevity of my career. It's helped with the injuries, and it's helped me, just be as strong as I was. So, maybe not necessarily being in the gym, because that's like an environment which, like, for me, I was dedicated, and, this little athlete, I was motivated. I wanted to be around those people, but it's not for everyone. What I would probably more say is just, like, kids in sport and any sport, because I think that was a really big factor towards my success, as well as so many people target right now, and it's like, they just try to find this like niche, or they do one sport, or they like put their whole life and soul into it. Whereas for me, I grew up doing like tennis, taekwondo, cricket, golf, soccer. Like I was state level golf, I was state level swimming. Like I was
Wow.
And I did like
All rounder.
I kind of like I was like almost got my black belt in taekwondo when I was 9, and
No way.
I had like the option to go to like Paris for the world champs when I was 8, or like get my black belt in taekwondo, and I was like, let's go to Paris, Dad.
You're a bit of a machine.
Wow.
So I think
Crazy.
really like the more kids that are doing different sports, but even athletes doing different sports, like you see CrossFit, they're animals, like they're one of the best athletes in the world, I believe.
Yeah.
And the diversity of like strength and skill and what they're allowed, like what their bodies do, I think that's kind of like what we need to be looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting the youth into different sports, getting them active, getting them moving, learning to, I guess, succeed in different areas and different environments.
Yeah.
To make them, I guess, more polished.
Yeah, and just the ability to, like, because I grew up in BMX, but then when I got to 15 years old, I wanted to do mountain biking. So I kind of diversified into more of downhill mountain biking, slalom, and they were different energy systems. They were like more of a 5-minute, tapping into your endurance, whereas like BMX was like very heavily like sprint, 30-second laps and
Slow
repeatability.
fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah, so to kind of jump between these sort of different energy systems, and then just the different physical capabilities of them, I think that was only doable because I had this base from doing different sports growing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask something?
What kind of habits and stuff do you put into your daily routine these days, or how has that changed from when you started and progressing? I know probably with the training that you had other people that would help you and guide you a little bit, but have you kind of molded your own routines now?
Well, yeah, they've sort of changed. So to give everyone like a little bit of rundown, just recently I had 18 months of challenges. I had like an off-road vehicle accident, and the buggy rolled over me down this fire road, and I was fortunate enough, I like punctured my 2 lungs, so double punctured and collapsed them, punctured my heart wall, which bled out into my lungs as well. Broke my sternum, broke my nose. So yeah, had some days in ICU, had like 10 days in hospital, and then ended up with like 13 surgeries, 9 anesthesias, and 3 full chest reconstructions. So for me now, I think as like a human, like looking at things like very different in terms of healing and like general health, and I think general well-being, I have like different, I'd say daily routines now than I did when I was just this full-time like athlete. But yeah, I think some of the things which really helped my career sort of grow early was just that consistency and starting quite young as well. But yeah, like I was in the gym sort of 3-4 days a week at the Australian Institute of Sport, growing all of those like base like Olympic lift movements from when I was 14 years old. So yeah,
so you started lifting heavy weights from about 14 years old and going into these heavy compounds? 14
years old, and I remember I joined the 100 club at ACTAS by the time I was 16, which meant you had to either squat, bench, or deadlift 100 kilos. So at 16 years old, I remember like
for me,
I was able to squat 100 kilo and like join the 100 club at ACTAS. So yeah, I think
you were squatting 100 kilos at 16 years old.
Yeah, at 16, and then like my PB right before the Rio Olympics was actually 150 for a 1RM squat and 90 kilo clean, and I was 60 kilo at the time. So
wow,
that's sort of like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, 1RM, like right for the Olympic Games. That was sort of the max I'd ever been at. But yeah, growing up like an ACTAS, I think it was really just that consistency and the time that we put into it. And I was fortunate. I had really good parents that dropped me in the gym every morning when I was like young, and obviously took me when I was 9.
Quick one. That was really interesting you said that. They were dropping you at the gym in the morning. So you trained in the morning. So you would actually make the time before school to train. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like a bit of like going back to school was my mum would drop me out at ACTAS before school, and then I'd do my gym training session, and then I would like go to school. I went to Marucci College, and then I'd finish there, and in the afternoon it was either like a sprint session, a skill session, or like we'd have a race night. So sort of every day, I'd always have that sort of one day off a week, which was my Sundays, but virtually every day I was doing like 2 sessions a day. And that was for probably like, a solid 8 years going through school. And then I was fortunate, I went to Erindale and did the talented sports program.
Yeah.
So that was another thing too. Like I almost wanted to drop out of school. I had a few sponsors that sort of said like, we don't want you to drop out of school. Like we really want you to finish. And the talented sports program allowed me, because in those 2 years of high school, like I was probably only there a year. But fortunately, like my dedication and like if I got a B, we kind of averaged out Bs. So yeah, the school worked with me, and I was able to do gym at school. I was able to swim laps in other like sessions. So I was able to continue my fitness, and yeah, they sort of helped. And it was incredible. Like our year at school, we had like Michael Matthews from Canberra, who went on from here to, now he lives in Monaco, rides in like the Tour de France cycling. So he's gone right way through. We had another Judo Australia girl that went to Olympics for judo. I had Kofi Danning, who soccer. So he obviously went through like Sydney FC, and, I've seen him in Holland on the other side of the world on training camps. And it's like, we were all part of this like 1 year talented sports program. So yeah, there are schools like that. And, I think all these just steps along the way, it's like we were just looking for those opportunities to continue my sort of career in the right direction.
Continue your growth. Well, one thing I guess that really stood out for me is the fact that you were training in the mornings. I'm a real big advocate, I guess, on training in the mornings and time management, because you would have probably had to get up at 5, 6 a.m. to kind of balance that. And then the fact that you were mentioning you were training after school as well. I guess for people that aren't at school, it would be the same situation where they're training after work. But what I've realized is that you said you kind of just had this energy to do it. Where did that energy come from? Because not everyone can train twice a day, and people make excuses. What were your reasons behind getting up, doing that session, and then after school doing that extra session? And where did that energy, motivation, inspiration come from to do that?
It was sort of challenging. Like I wanted to be this BMX bandit professional athlete, which that job title didn't exist. So yeah, I just did a podcast talk the other night, and it was all on a topic of like, you can't see what you can't be. And I think that's just like mentality a lot of people have. It's like, if you can't see where you want to go, you're like, well, how can I be that? How can I do that? But you really can be what you can't see. And we've kind of turned it on its head, because for me, like, I could see a future in BMX. It was like, is it going to be an Olympic Games sport? It wasn't back then. There wasn't girls making a career out of it. But that really like made me motivated to go, I don't know where the future stands. Like, I don't know if I will be an Olympian. I'd love to be an Olympian. But it really had this like fire in my stomach and like this kind of watch me mentality to be like, I will achieve and will find a way. And like, if I just keep ticking along at all of the foundation, if it does come, like, I'm ready. And that real like train hard, race easy approach, it was the same thing for the whole foundation of building what I did. So when it did become an Olympic sport and I was too young, I waited 4 years. And then sort of from there, it's like any opportunity I've had to diversify my career, the foundation's already been there. So I would say like I am definitely motivated by a challenge. I'm sort of, motivated again by adversity, but very much like internally. But one thing I've noticed is you go through like waves. You have that, some days it's an internal motivation, some days it's external motivation. It might be a race, it might be a prize money, it might be a really good coffee at the end of that session, because you know,
Who doesn't love coffee?
it can really honestly be any motivation. So to draw upon sort of the internal, external, and it is a shift. For me, I think one thing that stays consistent, which is now part of my routine, is I wake up every day and like my alarm goes off. And
what time do you wake up, may I ask?
So at the moment, obviously in Canberra, it's been a little bit different. But when I'm in my training blocks, I actually get up. In America, the sunrise is like 6:40. So I get up about 6:30, get my tea and watch the sunrise. So kind of like jumping around topics here, because that's another reason. I'm a morning person too. Okay. But yeah, sort of the sunrise thing came up because of all these recent injuries. I got told by a doctor like my vitamin D levels were low. I was really trying to like boost my like serotonin and everything like that, because I couldn't train, I couldn't lift, work out, ride a bike, do anything. I was like 4-month sentence. So they I had this doctor which was like, do you know that if you get up, you watch the sunrise, you can like set your circadian rhythm, and it helps boost your melatonin, so you sleep better at night, and it helps boost all of these like serotonin levels, literally from watching the sunrise and having this morning like gratitude. And I was like, all right, let me try it. I need to I'm someone that needs to feel it to like believe it. And I'm a real big like stats person. So I love the data behind, sport. So yeah, like I think that did make a big difference, and did all my bloods and like watched my vitamin D levels come back up, which was really important, because for bone healing, you need vitamin D to carry calcium and heal bone. So all these things from a health side of view that I didn't even realize. And yeah, it stemmed from getting up early and being motivated. And with the alarm that I now set that goes off, it's 3 things of gratitude every single day that's different to the day before. And
so you
That's
write
awesome.
that down, or do you?
Or just mental?
No, you just mentally say it every day. And it, some mornings do become hard because you can't be grateful for like that awesome brekkie every day, or that simple coffee, or something your wife or girlfriend or anything, whatever they do. So to kind of wake up and not be in that instant mindset of I have to do this, or like, oh my god, I gotta do this today, or I don't want to do this. It's like you wake up in that creative stage when you're waking up and you're most absorbing, and to sort of be grateful for what you've got and set the intention for the day, and the flow-on effect just changes your whole outlook.
It really does. Corey and I are actually really big advocates on that gratitude and that, I guess, appreciation of everyday life. And I think we both write it down, but I think even just realizing it and thinking about it consciously really does change your perception of life. And being in Canberra in Australia, we have life so good here, especially compared to other places in the world. But no matter where you are or what position you're in, would you agree that there is always something to be grateful for and always something that we can appreciate, which will make our lives better?
Yeah,
directly and indirectly.
It does, and I think it just compounds every day. And once you realize it's like the whole neural pathway, it's like you can adapt to being in that more grateful mindset with everything, and you're more, you become a better person, better towards like your family, partners. Like the flow on is unreal. So I definitely noticed like I was really keen at it for a while, and then I sort of stopped, became lazy, stopped being more grateful, mindful, like being in the moment. And then all of the patterns slipped. And then I realized, I was like, why am I having like, more of these down days? Like, what's going on? And I thought, you know what, I need to go back to that.
Back to the basics, back to the foundation.
Back to the basics. Like another thing, it's just been like a daily rule is like no phone before breakfast. Like it's just another thing for me. I started
doing that too. It's
Yeah.
good. It's so good actually.
It is.
I've done that what I've personally done is no phone until I get to the gym, but no, that's only for music, and no data, internet, anything, no messages until after I train. So the first time I'll touch my phone is 8 a.m. if I'm at work, or if not, I'll actually progress it longer. And I found straight away what that does help is clarity, focus, and just intention. It sets your intention for what's really important, and then you dial in on that, and then you, I guess, plug into the world again. Yeah. And you kind of then, you become a little bit more reactive when you're on your phone. So at least if you, like you said, control that first part of your day, game changer.
It's daily discipline. It's like with so many distractions at the moment, like between social media and your jobs, your career, like everything. Another thing, like looking back, like before the London Olympics, we all had to turn notifications off on our phone.
Right.
And that was a big part of, we go through this like 6-week blackout period where you can't even say, I'm going to like mention Starbucks coffee. Like you can't mention a brand, you can't, like you're on lockdown. And so we had to turn all our notifications off. And that meant that all the athletes were like present and that we were there to do a job, perform, compete for the nation. And there'd been a lot of work from teams, networks, everything going towards that. So ever since then, I never turn my notifications back on. Like I literally have WhatsApp, which I know the agency and management that I work with, sometimes they need to I need to respond right there and then. Mm-hmm. But messages, like my phone's always on silent. So obviously we can return calls.
Enjoy your life.
Like you're in control. You're just,
so your phone and they're not controlling you and calling you to do things. It's your choice. If you want to go to the messages or whatever. Yeah. But I've done that recently as well, and I've seen, I don't know, it just helps a lot more with enjoying life in general.
Exactly. Yeah, and the same thing with gym, like put your phone on not airplane mode, but just like do not disturb.
Yep.
So you still have, your data for your Spotify and your music, or whether you listen to a podcast. But that just not having that distraction of people messaging you when you're trying to train, or you're like mid, and then all of a sudden you're trying to be on this like 1.5-minute time rest, and you're like, oh, that was 3 minutes, and you wonder why the session blows out for 2 hours, and then you're fatigued, you need food, and just it can spiral out of control. And
absolutely.
That accumulation of every session spiraling out of control, it's like you've wasted a lot of time. So I'm a big believer now in just setting up yourself to not fail. Is like the biggest thing. It's like you can do that in so many areas of life to not set yourself up.
That's really interesting. Corey, do you have a particular question?
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
So when you're in the gym, do you listen to music or podcasts, or it depends exactly what type of workout you're going for?
Yeah.
And do you what things run through your head? Is it something you consciously think about or control? Or it's just kind of like go in and then you zone in, focus, and smash whatever you need to do.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. So my playlist is like quite different. So when I'm like on the bike, I don't have anything because I need to be aware of, you need all your senses because you need to hear the wind, how fast you're going to like judge a jump, or you need to hear if your bike's making noise. It could be mechanical. So when I'm on the bike, I literally just am fully there. But with gym training, recently I've only been on a spin bike, so I just had sort of 3 months of only being able to be on a spin bike. The thing that saved me was podcasts and audiobooks. Awesome. So, some of the podcasts that I love listening to, of a morning, there's like Andy Frisella, he's like the MF CEO, love him. And then another gym trainer who he is also like one of the Olympic trainers. He's just got this gnarly background, was like, lived on the streets, prison, all of this, but like has come back to be one of the biggest speakers in America now, and also coaches Olympic athletes. So crazy. I would say.
What's his name out?
So his name's Tony Hoffman.
Okay.
And he has some podcasts as well. Some are more on like, the trading war stories, which is a bit more about the prison side, which I sort of like skip over them. But some of just like the things that he goes through about the processes, which obviously got him from the absolute low to like where he's at now is incredible. So yeah, he's a really good one as well. And then yeah, the audio books I use Audible.
Which books, may I ask? Books are amazing.
Right now I'm on David Goggins. Can't Hurt Me. I'm only like 20 minutes into it. But I've sort of everything from, I'd say when I'm training, it's different. But recently, like more, it's been a lot of the spiritual books, The Power of Now, Four Agreements. A lot more like mindfulness sort of ones. But yeah, books, I'd say they've really helped me. Music, most of my training is like lifting. So like, you know, I think being like a female, you go into the gym and you don't necessarily want to walk in and lift 150 kilos today. It's like, I want to be on my bike. I love it, but it's like, oh, here we go, body. So, I like more of the sort of Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly, bit more heavy kind of music, because that helps me get in the zone. Like if I had something light and fluffy or you know,
music,
then your mind starts to wander a bit.
You start feeling more of the pain, so it's like
music has been proven to actually change your state in the mind and then through the body. Music will change your state, and music is so important, and it's actually really interesting that you do use music, it seems, to your advantage. So when you do have a heavier session, or if you are lifting heavier weights, you are listening to music with more intensity and probably with more purpose and meaning. And you wouldn't listen to those audio books because you don't want to be in that state. You want to be in more of in a state which raises your adrenaline levels and really pushes you. Do you pick your music very specifically? So you pick, say, a song from Eminem or a song from Machine Gun Kelly or an artist that is going to give you that right message, or are you just a little bit free? You're just going to bang, I want the artist and all of them.
I sort of have like playlists. I have like gym, what's it called? One's called Gym Mood, and then one's called like Gym Upbeat. So like if I'm sort of just in like a dynamic warm-up phase, it's like, let's go Gym Upbeat, let's get just going for the day. But then when I like start getting into those more of like Olympic lifts, heavy like weighted chins or whatever it is, it's like more of the mood kind of gym playlist comes on. But one thing which I think so many people don't like think of, and it was one thing that I didn't either, was the flip side. And I've got some really good mentors. So like Wayne Beachley, 7-time world surf champion, and different athletes that are around me. And they sort of always said like, let's pick apart, you know, you're great in these areas, but what are you not good at? And I was terrible at like my recovery.
Okay.
And like I'm still guilty of it today.
Stretching and stuff like.
What
do you do for your recovery?
Not even necessarily like stretching. People think, recovery, like, you know, it's about eating, it's about sleeping, it's about all this, but it's like even the mental recovery of like the come down from training. So like when you're in the gym, you have, you know, you had your morning coffee, you've listened to your podcast, you've got your amp on, and then you're like, and then you've got to like go to work and you've got to do anything, and then you've got to have that double session again that evening. It's like you just keep going and then you crash. So I focused on actually like laying down with my headphones on, completely no music, just doing my breathing for 10 minutes. So like before I step out of the gym now, I just lay down 10 minutes and like let all my body like chill. And then so I've already like kickstarted that recovery more so than, you know, leaving and then realizing I'm taking a like normal breath, I haven't calmed down, like my heart rate's still up here for the next like hour. So sort of just doing that 10-minute window of just complete silence, just breathing and like having that initial come down, and then leaving the gym, putting more of the relaxed music on. So I've got like, you know, put that chill mix on, like come down as soon as you can. So I like Ziggy Alberts and just other sort of like really
that's really interesting.
I'm definitely going to try that one out.
I don't know if you do know that really is a high performance habit, and it's really interesting that you got that from these people that are also high performers. Brendan Burchard in High Performance Habits, his book actually speaks about transitioning. So it's I guess he says release tension, set intention. So what he says between his transitions from in the morning to, I guess, having breakfast to then going to the gym, from then going to the gym to then doing his work, and then doing his work to a meeting, so on and so forth, he will take 3 deep breaths in and completely release all the tension, and then he would take another 3 breaths or however long it is, and he would set intention. It's really interesting how that is something that you picked up, obviously in your own unique way, but it really sets your intention for the day, and it kind of allows you to transition better, to be more present in every moment that you're in.
Yeah, and I...
Caroline, it's the Caroline. would say she's mighty fine.